So, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome to a beautiful start to the week, a week which continues to hold so much of celebration, the festivities that the month of October keeps offering us. And what happens is there are many occasions that get us hassled and that get us a little, you know, worked up. Or there may be certain situations that keep coming up when you meet certain people, some reactions, some resentments. So we are not here just to talk, but to experience today how to, the shift that we can make in ourselves, in how we relate to emotions of others. Good morning, Saifa. Of others, or the mistakes that they may have made or we continue to make, and look at everything from a space of compassion instead of judgment. So we learn to relate to the mistakes in ourselves and in others. And that is the way to help become calm, be in an atmosphere which is encouraging, happy, participative for not only yourself, but for whoever is associated with you. It could be your people who are working in your house, it could be your children, your relatives, your in-laws, your family, friends, anyone. Now, when you have such a large spectrum of people with various emotions around you, so what happens is very often people around us, they lie or hide or behave in ways that hurt us, right? It may happen, without any particular reason, but it may have just happened as a phrase or a statement or a situation that has come up, taken for granted. Oh, she can do it. And it may hurt us, that why me all the time? Yeah. And what happens when some things like this happen, where the people lie to you or they hide things from you or behave in ways that hurt you? So, what happens to us? We become strict in our thoughts and in our way of dealing. We become judgmental or we become emotionally guarded. But here is another powerful truth. When there is fear of judgment, the truth goes into hiding, right? Just like a child who is scolded harshly begins to hide mistakes instead of improving. You would have noticed that in your children and children around you. So, what happens as you grow, adults, from what they have learned in childhood behavior, also begin to hide. But the hiding is different. They start to hide behind silence, long silences. They hide behind excuses and they hide behind false smiles. We all do it, don't we? So, why? Because when someone fears rejection after admitting a mistake, they don't grow. They just learn to hide deeper and deeper. Think about it. When you fear rejection after having admitted a mistake, so next time you think that, okay, no, I can't do this, I won't do this, I cannot share this. So, what are you doing? You're learning to hide deeper and deeper, and in the process, you are not allowing yourself to grow. Whatever the learning has to come out from that scenario. So, what are we going to do today? learn to create a compassionate field around us, a field where we feel confident enough to say, yes, I made a mistake. Yes, I felt fear. Yes, I reacted with judgment. It's difficult to say all this, isn't it? Say all this and then still feel worthy of love, of being able to correct, and allowing ourselves to evolve. Now, let's imagine someone very close to you who lied. Instead of shutting down or reacting in anger, what if you allow yourself internally to feel and say, you don't have to hide. Let's look at it honestly and let's make let's come to a solution together. It's okay. You don't have to hide. And in that moment, what happens? For the person who's saying it and for the person who's receiving it, that speaking my truth feels safe. And when you start feeling this, what happens? Transformation inside you and in others begins. Think about yourself too. When you made a mistake in the past, did you grow more when someone shamed you? Or if when someone said, let's say, it's okay, let's move on. I understand. It happened at the spur of the moment. It's okay. It's done, finished. Let's understand this and move forward. That space, that compassionate witnessing by the others of you and your mistake is what we are going to try and activate today. And how will we do it? We will do it in the loving presence of radical consciousness. So let's all become comfortable, become very comfortable. Close your eyes. Take a soft, deep breath in and slowly breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Feel your shoulders relaxing. Feel your jaw soften. Allow your heartbeat to become gentle and steady. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Imagine yourself being surrounded by the consciousness and the light of compassion. This light does not judge, it only witnesses and heals. As you breathe in, feel the light entering your heart. As you breathe out, feel all your resistance melting away. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, Breathe out. Feel yourself in a completely relaxed position. Invoke your healing masters, healing guides, healing angels, your higher consciousness, radical consciousness, love consciousness, compassion consciousness, your teachers, mentors, gurus, and guides. Seek their support, seek their understanding, seek their compassion to help you feel that compassion in your heart and to guide you on the path of compassion as you continue your journey to connect to the superconsciousness and the prime resource energy. Collect all your personal thoughts wherever they are scattered in the universe. See them, feel them entering you, making you feel centered. And now, take another deep breath, not from a space of force or correction, but from a space of loving acceptance and graceful transformation, allowing ourselves to heal honestly without judgment. So today's affirmations, we will repeat it. We will admit to the loving care of radical consciousness, and with every inhale and exhale, you will be able to allow yourself to become a recipient of the consciousness and its energy. So you can repeat after me or recite with me. I admit my need to control others under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my need to control others under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my need to control others under the loving care of radical consciousness. Breathe in gently, breathe out and release. I admit my fear of being disappointed under the loving care of radical consciousness. Inhale softness, exhale tension as I say this. I admit my fear of being disappointed under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my fear of being disappointed under the loving care of radical consciousness. Now, when you inhale, breathe in acceptance and exhale expectations. I admit my hidden expectations from others under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my hidden expectations from others under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my hidden expectations from others under the loving care of radical consciousness. Now, breathe in compassion and breathe out judgments. I admit my tendency to judge quickly under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my tendency to judge quickly under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my tendency to judge quickly under the loving care of radical consciousness. Now, breathe in understanding, breathe out resistance. I admit my resistance to forgiving mistakes under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my resistance to forgiving mistakes under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my resistance to forgiving mistakes under the loving care of radical consciousness. Now, inhale gentleness, exhale criticism. I admit my inner harshness towards imperfection under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my inner harshness towards imperfection under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my inner harshness towards imperfection under the loving care of radical consciousness. Inhale, calm, exhale, anger. I admit my suppressed anger towards wrongdoing under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my suppressed anger towards wrongdoing under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my suppressed anger towards wrongdoing under the loving care of radical consciousness. Inhale, healing light. Exhale, pain. I admit my buried hurt from betrayal under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my buried hurt from betrayal under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my buried hurt from betrayal under the loving care of radical consciousness. Breathe in clarity, breathe out resentment. I admit my silent resentment towards hypocrisy under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my silent resentment towards hypocrisy under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my silent resentment towards hypocrisy under the loving care of radical consciousness. Inhale safety, exhale fear. I admit my fear of being cheated under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my fear of being cheated under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my fear of being cheated under the loving care of radical consciousness. Breathe in courage, breathe out avoiding. I admit my discomfort in facing the truth under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my discomfort in facing truth under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my discomfort in facing the truth under the loving care of radical consciousness. Inhale humility. Exhale ego. I admit my need to appear righteous under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my need to appear righteous under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my need to appear righteous under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit, breathe in compassion, breathe out harshness. I admit my urge to punish mistakes under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my urge to punish mistakes under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my urge to punish mistakes under the loving care of radical consciousness. Inhale openness, exhale fear. I admit my habit of closing my heart under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my habit of closing my heart under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my habit of closing my heart under the loving care of radical consciousness. Breathe in trust, breathe out insecurity. I admit my fear of being taken for granted under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my fear of being taken for granted under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my fear of being taken for granted under the loving care of radical consciousness. Inhale acceptance, exhale resistance. I admit my intolerance towards others' weaknesses under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my intolerance towards others' weaknesses under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my intolerance towards others' weaknesses under the loving care of radical consciousness. Breathe in equality. Breathe out ego. I admit my hidden superiority complex under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my hidden superiority complex under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my hidden superiority complex under the loving care of radical consciousness. Inhale, release. Exhale, holding on. I admit my tendency to hold grudges under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my tendency to hold grudges under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my tendency to hold grudges under the loving care of radical consciousness. Breathe in peace. Breathe out competition. I admit my subtle desire to prove others wrong under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my subtle desire to prove others wrong under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my subtle desire to prove others wrong under the loving care of radical consciousness. Inhale love, exhale conflict. I admit my internal conflict between love and judgment under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my internal conflict between love and judgment under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my internal conflict between love and judgment under the loving care of radical consciousness. Breathe in patience. Breathe out control. I admit my difficulty in allowing others to grow at their pace under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my difficulty in allowing others to grow at their pace under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my difficulty in allowing others to grow at their pace under the loving care of radical consciousness. Excuse. Breathe in awareness. Breathe out blame. I admit my urge to highlight other people's faults under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my urge to highlight other people's faults under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my urge to highlight other people's faults under the loving care of radical consciousness. Breathe in kindness, breathe out shame. I admit my unconscious habit of shaming mistakes under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my unconscious habit of shaming mistakes under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my unconscious habit of shaming mistakes under the loving care of radical consciousness. Inhale freedom, exhale fear. I admit my fear of losing control when I forgive under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my fear of losing control when I forgive under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my fear of losing control when I forgive under the loving care of radical consciousness. Breathe in softness, breathe out resistance. I admit my resistance to creating a safe space for truth under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my resistance to creating a soft, safe space for truth under the loving care of radical consciousness. I admit my resistance to create a safe space for truth under the loving care of radical consciousness. Now take a deep breath in, holding the energy of compassion. And take a breath out, releasing every layer that no longer serves your highest truth. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Feel the soft consciousness of compassion filling up every cell, every fiber, every muscle, every tissue, every organ of your body. Feel it vibrating in every chakra of your body. Feel this consciousness of compassion filling your heart. And as it fills you in your whole body and your heart and your mind and spirit, see you aligning to the compassion, allowing all kinds of judgments to get released. And when you feel synchronized, just say with me, with soul's love, I allow healing. With soul's love, I allow truth. With soul's love, I allow grace. With soul's love, I allow healing. With soul's love, I allow truth. With soul's love, I allow grace. Stay in your space. Feel yourself completely aligned and filled with the lightness of compassion, and allowing yourself to heal, to know the truth, to be the truth, and to share and feel the grace. And when you feel synchronized completely, take another deep breath to retain it. Feel yourself being grounded. Rub your palms softly, gently. Massage your face, your scalp, your neck, your arms, your body, your feet. Feel the vibrations aligning completely and settling you. And when you feel settled, you can open your eyes. Take your time. Any thoughts, any questions, any feelings, any sensations, any experience, or anything you would like to share? Thank you, Niti.
Ma'am, it was very good because yesterday something happened and I was all the time with my thoughts and my mind. How my mind was making me feel shameful. And then every recitation today was like, you were saying all that feelings were there. So, the higher self itself puts everything together
Yes,
in front of you to correct it. We just have to be aligned and everything is there.
absolutely.
There you go.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Niti, for your input. Yeah, Revati? Revati? Okay, Shweta?
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Ma'am, it was so nice. Sometimes my head was feeling very light, but now, ma'am, when I've got up, I mean, like, open my eyes, I'm feeling my head a little heavy, like the whole portion, the crown.
So yeah, it's all your crown chakra is getting awakened, and maybe you are not allowing, what needs to leave.
Okay.
Just have a look mentally and
Okay.
just say that I'll find the heaviness in my, head. That's all. You don't need to do anything else.
Okay.
I'll find the heaviness, the need, the reason, etc., whatever is coming to you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much for that, Revati. Sorry, Shweta. Yes, Revati?
Yes, ma'am. The session, it was so relaxing. I went into a deep state of peace and harmony and working on myself, loving myself and accepting myself. So I applied all the statements that you did to myself
Yeah.
and I'm feeling so much at peace. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, welcome. It's all guided by radical, we all know that. And the
Yes.
guidance was that we need to admit a lot of our situations which happen on a daily basis with us, but we don't realize, and admit all of that in a state of surrender to radical consciousness and, sort of absorb the compassion, the love, and, the grace that we all have within us, but we're not aware of it and make it part of us, right?
So true.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So let me just read the chats, what is written over here. So, wow, that's nice. Pratiksha says encouragement and compassion helps. Yes. Sagari, thank you. Darshana, thank you. Renuka, thank you. Usha, thank you. Pratiksha says so peaceful. Thank you for that. Sri Vidya says, I feel so much at peace. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sri Vidya. Ruby says, same as Neeti, ma'am. Wonderful. All right. Chandani says, so much needed this recitation. Wonderful. Pratiksha says, so calming. Nice. I'm glad that this worked for all of us today and it gave us a sense of calm. Wonderful. Yes, Beena? Beena?
Yeah, thank you for the session, especially uh, Aarti. Most of the statements resonated.
Mhm.
Whereas for me, I little bit feel restless on and off. See, just to give you an example, day before yesterday, I conveyed my roommate as well as my owner for
Hold on, hold on,
more
hold
than
on, hold on. We don't need to go in the stories. You said you feel restless, correct? So for feeling restless, you
I'm not
need
telling
to.
story. I'm
No,
just trying to give an example.
there's no need. You know what radical focuses on? Radical doesn't focus on all the situations that happen in our life. It focuses on whatever is happening in our lives. How does it make you feel? That is the focus of radical. What does it make you feel or how does it make you feel? Okay. So you said you're feeling restless, even though you were felt some statements were calm. So focus only on restlessness, Bina, not the story. Okay. That is what we have to leave behind. So what you want to explain to me is a story. I'm not interested. I'm only interested that you are restless. Okay. So for your restlessness,
I
you
took a
can.
sleeping pill and slept off, Aarti.
Sorry?
Restlessness in the sense, uh, restlessness in the sense, you know, this my charger I had already conveyed. Don't unplug it when I sleep or anything. Now yesterday, she has already poured water or something. It has
Tina,
not been working.
so just work
And
on your restlessness. There's nothing else to do. If it's just restlessness or just, even the frustration that you feel because of the behavior of others, work on your restlessness. Please understand this. Work on your restlessness and work on whatever other feeling you are having. So you just are fine my restlessness. I are fine my need for restlessness. I are fine my reasons for restlessness. Reasons are whatever is happening around you, right? And at the same time, I are find my resistance to let go of my restlessness. That is all you need to work on. Okay? Don't think of the stories. They happened. They will continue to happen. Try to now learn to focus on how does it make me feel. That is the key. And that will start helping you a lot. Okay? So that would be a big help. All right? So, okay, then we have Mohit. Oh, hello, Mohit. I think you've come for the first time. Yeah, thank you. And
I let it go, Aarti, and I thought that now morning, now after breakfast, I'll go and buy a new cable. My frustration is only that everything I'm trying to keep it locked now.
So as
I
I
mean,
said,
even
work, please, Bina, we finished with your topic, but just work with restlessness and frustration. When I say work with it, I mean with R5. There's nothing else that we can do right now for that, yeah? So Shruti
yeah,
says,
sure.
thank you so much, Pam, for helping me find compassionate self inside the nutshell of these resistances. Awesome.
I
If you
need
know,
to
1 minute, Bina, I'm talking. I think you can hear I'm talking. Please let me
okay,
finish.
okay, sure.
Yes, please do not disturb me in between. So, Shruti, you mentioned it beautifully. Find compassionate self inside the nutshell of these resistances. So it's like a coconut, right? The softer thing is always inside you. So you
Yes.
crack that coconut, take it out, and then you are able to get to the core as such. So that shell, I mean, physically, the action of trying to open a coconut also is not easy, no? You have to first remove all the fiber, you may get hurt in your arms, then you have to break through that coconut, etc., and that requires effort. So, that is what we all are. Let's not be the outer layer of the coconut, let's learn to have the inner thing, which is us, the core. And the core is compassion, the core is love, the core is grace, the core is, truth. The core is just learning to be. So when we let go of all the compassion, judgments that are sitting on top, break it all out, throw it away, what comes out is compassion. Thank you for your beautiful example. Thank you, Shruti. Saifa says thank you. All right, great. So anybody else has anything else to say? Otherwise, we can finish it. It's already time.
Uh,
Yeah.
After reciting the statement, how to close on restlessness and frustration.
After reciting what?
After reciting the five statements of restlessness, say for example, I affirm my restlessness and frustration.
Mm.
I affirm my reasons for restlessness and frustration. I affirm my resistance to let go. And similarly, I may add another two, three statements. So
Yeah,
post that,
that's
how
it.
to
You have
close.
to keep working on it. You have to say each statement 21 times. That's it. And keep saying it for days and days and days and days, not just for 1 day and 1 time. Okay? Keep working on it. Minimum 21 days. All right?
Yeah. And I have an interview. Hopefully it will go well. They are negotiating too much, but I'm just going for that.
Sorry,
I
Bina.
mean, online interview, everything.
What are you saying?
I have I mean, I have completed all the online interviews. Now I have face to face followed by HR discussion. I just want to go with calm and confidence, calmness and confidence.
Yeah.
Any statement that you would suggest?
Please look up all the old YouTube videos that we have. It is all given there. The mirror exercise is given there. Everything is given there. You'll find your answers over there. Okay? All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. All the best. Have a great day. See you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Bye bye.